Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I think we can start. I see it's 7 o'clock. Welcome to everyone, and thank you very much for joining this evening. We are delighted to see so many of you. A lot of people booked, so I'm sure some of them will still be joining in the next few minutes. You will see that you are currently on forced mute. That is just so that there's no disturbance and interruptions while the webinar is happening. We will, towards the end of the webinar, allow a live question and answer session. So you will then be able to unmute yourself. So don't be too worried. If you do have a question during the course of the webinar, you're welcome to pop the question into the chat. We will answer the question. I will also consolidate questions so that we can present those questions to Pieter at the end of the webinar. But as I said, you're also welcome to participate live in a question and answer session. We'll allow you to unmute yourselves. Ladies and gentlemen, the webinar this evening is specifically focused on parents and helping parents understand how to help their children in a very important life decision, being choosing a career and deciding what my job is going to be one day. We also have 2 webinars next week specifically focused and aimed at high school kids, young children, as well as students that are still quite indecisive and unsure about their career decision. The date for the young kids, the high school kids and the students is the 7th of July. And please take note, it's not 7 o'clock in the evening, South African time. It will happen at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I will also post that date in the chat. And after the webinar, you will obviously receive your recording and we'll put the dates in that and the link for them to book in that email as well. Then there's another webinar next week, Thursday, the 9th of July. That webinar is at 7 o'clock in the evening, South African time. I know there's some of the people from the US joining as well, so that will probably be around about 12 in the afternoon, depending on where you are, or maybe 1 in the afternoon, depending on where you are joining from. And the webinar on the 9th of July is specifically for youngsters deciding whether they should take a gap year or not. Now, if your child can't make the webinar on the 7th of July at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, they're welcome to join for this webinar on the 9th of July at 7 o'clock in the evening. It will be focused on, should I take a gap year or not? What are the benefits? What are the pros and cons? But I'm sure just a high school kid that can't join on the 7th will still find a lot of value in this webinar. As I said, it will be communicated. I'll also post the dates in the chat. Then, ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce our presenter this evening. Some of you do know Pieter de Villiers. A lot of you are new and you haven't joined any of our webinars before. So for you specifically, welcome. Also welcome to the Shadowmatch team joining this evening. It's always nice to see all the faces and the names on the screen. Pieter de Villiers is the author and the functional developer of the Shadowmatch system. He currently still holds the role as the head of research and development at Shadowmatch. Pieter studied at the University of Pretoria for 7 years, and he worked as a minister of religion in the Dutch Reformed Church for 12 years. Now, the reason I'm mentioning that, ladies and gentlemen, is he specialized in youth ministry and youth counseling. He spent hours and many interviews and discussions with kids, young adults, parents, helping them to understand what's the meaning in life. Why am I feeling unhappy? What should I do to be successful in life? What should I do to choose a career? So many of these discussions. So ladies and gentlemen, you will know by what I've said just now that what Pieter shares with you this evening comes from many years of not just experience, but also many years of research. So Pieter, we are really looking forward to what you are going to share with us. I'm not going to spend much more time. I'm going to say thank you very much and over to you.
Thank you very much, Lizette. Can I just see by the wave of a hand if everybody can hear me loud and clearly? Looks like that. Thank you very much. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what we will do tonight is we will go into this very difficult predicament of being a parent of young adults, teenagers and young adults, especially around one specific focus area in their lives, and that is the decision they need to make in terms of a future career. Now, before I share some of the visuals so that you can just follow the topics that we will discuss visually as well, and it makes it a bit better to follow and to remember some of the content once you maybe review the video. But one of the things that we must understand is that there are 4 things that we must get these 4 things right to be a happy, fulfilled, successful adult. Now, these 4 things, ladies and gentlemen, are of critical importance for the well-being of an individual in terms of personal fulfillment and being somebody that could live a meaningful life. And I'm not saying if these things are not in place, you can't live a meaningful life, but these are the 4 critical ones. I will list them for you. Number 1 is your physical body, your biology, your health must be in a good state. So looking after your personal health is the best investment that you can make. You must have a physical condition that is strong and that could take you places. So that's the first thing. The second thing is the place where you live, your house, is part of your identity. It gives you meaning and it gives you accommodation, security, and a sense of well-being is very much embedded in where we live. And is the house a place that accommodates me, that is an extension of myself, that I feel good about, that I'm looking forward to go to, etc., etc. I feel a level of safety and my people, my loved ones are there. Then number 3 on the list is my relationships must work. People that suffer from bad relationships and a history of bad relationships, they struggle to find meaning in their lives, ladies and gentlemen, and they are continuously in this inner fight with themselves because of the relationships that they are in do not work properly. So that's number 3. Number 4, my career must work. If the work and the job that I do, if my career doesn't work, all the other things are under threat. I can very easily collapse into unhappiness, into a loss of meaning, into my self-confidence and my ego, my experience of myself collapses, and then the individual is in big trouble. It is so important that our careers work properly, ladies and gentlemen, that we have actually in thousands of years embedded that importance in our language. Have you ever noticed how we ask a young person about their careers in future? We ask them the question. We don't ask them, who do you want to work for one day, my son? Or who do you want to work for one day, my girl or my daughter? We ask them, what do you want to become one day? This is embedded in our language because by saying that, we merge the identity of the individual with the career that they follow. And we can see this. If you ask somebody, if you meet somebody that is a stranger, you ask them their name, then you ask them where they're from. Question number 3 is, what do you do for a living? So this is part of the way in which we identify ourselves. Now, what I will do, ladies and gentlemen, in order to help you as a parent to play a very active but also a responsible role in the lives of your children, I've divided your role as a parent into 2 groups: parents of younger children, 10 to 15 years old, and then parents of your teenagers, 16, senior teenagers and young adults, 16 up till 20, maybe 21, 22, maybe 23. So I will go into that and I'm going to share my screen now. Give me 20 seconds and you will then see my screen on your screen. There we go. So what we will do, ladies and gentlemen, we will look at the role of the parents in the lives of teenagers and the careers that they have to decide on. Let's start, first of all, ladies and gentlemen, with the first group. And we start with an introduction into both these groups of 10 to 15 and 15 to 20, 21, 22 years of age. Just a few challenges. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we must be very aware of the fact that we must, as parents, not underestimate the challenge of a young person, a young adult, teenager, in terms of making a career choice. there are a few things that we must be very, very aware of. First, there's a possibility overwhelmed situation. In other words, I'm overwhelmed by all the possibilities in life. I can become, and then, ladies and gentlemen, if it's a talented and a highly intellectually sophisticated young person, or an intelligent young person, they are overwhelmed by the possibilities of modern life. I can become a pilot. I can become a conservation person. I can become a medical doctor, an engineer. And the possibilities of careers are so vast that they stand before this and they say, I have no idea what to do. I want to compare it to something. If you take a child, a younger child, sort of a grade 1, 4, 5, 6, 7 years old child, to an ice cream shop, and there's only vanilla, that's it. There's no argument. We stand in the queue, we get to the front of the queue, and we order a vanilla ice cream. That's it. But if you stand with the same child in the queue, and there are 300 different tastes and different look and feel ice cream types, it becomes a crisis. They start crying because they don't know what to do. The possibilities just overwhelm them. So we must be very, very aware of this, that the possibilities in front of these youngsters are so vast that it's mind-blowing. And uncertainty, ladies and gentlemen, is also an overwhelming factor. Young people are overwhelmed with uncertainties. They do not trust the government. Well, sometimes with very good reason. They have lost trust in the schooling system. They've lost trust in the state, in the church. They've lost trust in what they are being taught. They've lost trust in medicine. We live in a world where people, especially young people, have lost their trust in the world around them. It's an unreliable world. We refer to this partially as a mindset of the postmodern individual. They've lost their trust in the environment, and it fills them with uncertainty. Now you've got two components. You've got somebody with a low trust in society and in the world they live in, and they are overwhelmed by possibilities. So the crisis now starts to increase. The next one, ladies and gentlemen, is they are influence overwhelmed. What do I mean with this? They are influenced by television, by the internet, by WhatsApp groups, by their friends, by their teachers, by the movies they watch, by the videos they watch on internet, by the parents of their friends, by the friends of their friends' parents, by people that they idol, and the list carries on. So they are influenced. The influence, when I was a youngster, ladies and gentlemen, I was influenced by my parents, and maybe one teacher. We didn't have access to the information that they have. So they suffer from an information overload and an influence overload. Then the big thing, ladies and gentlemen, is not knowing the world of work. We have isolated the world of work from our children. On a farming community where I grew up, I could see the work that my father did, but it's the only job that I ever saw. It was the work that my father did. He was a farmer. So in many instances, children at least saw one or two people working, their parents or the parents of their friends. But for some reason, and it just happened, ladies and gentlemen, that we have isolated the world of work from children. They don't know what a dentist do. They go to a dentist with fear. That's what they do. They don't know what the work of a psychologist is. Not very long ago, about a month ago, ladies and gentlemen, I spoke to a clinical psychologist. And he said to me, Pieter, you know what, when I went to varsity, I had no idea what the work of a clinical psychologist is. I had a dream. I want to become a psychologist. And I thought when I was studying that it's you become a sort of a magician. You can do magic. And then after a few years in the practice, he said to me, Peter, my job is I sit down and I listen to the tough stories of people and I discuss the hardships of life with people. I'm not made for this. I said to him, but didn't you realize that this was the job? He said, in my wildest, maddest dreams, I would never have guessed this is what I will do. I will sit and talk to people that are emotionally troubled for 8 and 9 and 10 hours a day. I cannot do it. Why did he study? Because he didn't know what the job is, ladies and gentlemen. He had no idea what the work of a psychologist is. If you look at medical doctors currently in this virus pandemic, it's a very, very dangerous job. It's a job where you are exposed to people that are very ill. And when somebody is in grade 10 or 11, they see a medical doctor as this glamour job and you have a high income. And it's not. Why do they live in this dream, ladies and gentlemen? Because we've isolated our children as a community, and it's not your fault as a parent. It's not by your mistake. It's not something that you should take responsibility for. It is the society that we live in. Then we have young people, ladies and gentlemen, living in a fear of failure. They have failed a few times, and now they have this thing around them that to go to university will cost my parents a few million, probably. And what if I fail? What if I don't like it? What if I can't make it? So there's an underlying fear in their lives. What if I choose a job that is very expensive for me to prepare or to study, and I don't like it, and it's a failure? I have to bail out. And then, ladies and gentlemen, obviously, I spoke to a young person about a month and a half, 2 months ago, and I realized that we have young people that are nag resistance. And they say to me, and they've said to me hundreds of times, I am just at the end of my ability to deal with nagging of my parents. What are you going to do next year? So they develop a nag resistance. They don't want to talk about it. They've had enough about it. And that is something that we must, as parents, and if you ask me, did you raise children? I've got 3 kids and they are adults now, and I'm very happy with that. But we must try to learn and teach ourselves the habit of not nagging. And because our kids build up a resistance, ladies and gentlemen, and then that resistance becomes a new problem that they must deal with. Then just to the end of this slide, there's an abbreviation. It's a short indicator. It says the 4IR reality. It stands, ladies and gentlemen, for the 4th Industrial Revolution reality. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is the most challenging of all, because in the future, many jobs that young people will study for will no longer exist. Young people will go to university and they will study for a degree. And when they are finished, the degree that they have qualified with doesn't give them a work opportunity anymore. I am a bit frustrated on this level, ladies and gentlemen, because I feel that society is currently not transparent enough with young people in terms of telling them that the job that you are currently preparing for is on the verge of extinction. It's not going to exist any longer in future. You are at the tail end of this job. I want to share a few things about the 4th Industrial Revolution with you, ladies and gentlemen. Please bear with me for a minute. You know, when I was a youngster, I studied at Pretoria University, and I once had to go into the room where the typists of the university sat. I think there were about 200. I can be out with 100, but the feeling that I got is I looked at this room full of typists, and I said to myself, it's impossible. What do they type? There's not one left. They're gone. It's a job that doesn't exist anymore. Now, I'm using this example because it's far behind us. But ladies and gentlemen, in the very near future, lots of careers will just diminish. People will study for years to find out that they can't find a job. In some instances, ladies and gentlemen, to try and apply for work just with a high school, final year high school certificate, what we call in South Africa matric, or a graduate from high school as it's been referred to in the USA, it's easier for them to find a job than for some young people with an undergrad degree. Because suddenly, if somebody has a BA degree, a 3-year degree in psychology, everybody thinks, but I must employ this person in the field of psychology. And then there's very, very little employment. So what we must do, ladies and gentlemen, is we must watch some of the videos around the 4th Industrial Revolution. And I have presented webinars on this just this afternoon, earlier this day, I did for a business. And it's something that there are hundreds of videos on YouTube in terms of what is the impact of the 4th Industrial Revolution on the sustainability of certain careers. And we must keep in mind that our young people are aware of this. They know these things, but they are not aware of it with enough knowledge to get their minds around it. They know there's a challenge, but they don't understand the full meaning of the challenge. So what we will do now, ladies and gentlemen, we will now go into the 10 to 15-year-old, because a lot of parents ask me from time to time, but when do you start your discussion with a child in terms of their careers? Now, ladies and gentlemen, I think 10 years is the earliest. I don't think you should start earlier, because it's more of an adult problem than a child problem. And I want children to be children for as long as they can. I believe that being a child and living your childhood in a childlike lifestyle is the most healthy thing that you can do for a child in terms of their psychology. But from the age of 10, 11, we need to do a few things to create an awareness. The first thing, ladies and gentlemen, is we must help the child understand the link between theoretical and practical knowledge. I want to tell you something shocking. I presented a seminar about 5 years ago, maybe longer, to high school teachers. And there were lots of them, about 50 in the room. And I then I then went into the workshop for maths and science teachers. There were about 35 of them, 35, 40. And I asked them, if the children in your classroom ask you, why should I learn maths? What is your answer? They couldn't answer me. The one said, well, at least you can understand your bank statements. The other one said, well, you can help your children if they are in high school with their maths. The other one said, no, it teaches you to think. The other one says it develops the problem-solving part of your brain. And they kept on with this. It's not true, ladies and gentlemen. The mathematicians are the engines of the future world. This meeting that we have now, this Zoom capability that we are using now, the guys who built this thing are mathematicians. This is a maths equation. If you do a building, if you build a mega building site, that building is a mathematical equation. The engineers who designed that building, they know their maths back to back. Shadowmatch, the product that I've developed to help people to be successful, is a mathematical equation. It's a maths engine. So we must help the child make the connection between the theoretical work that they learn and the real world. Why mathematics? Why science? Why language? We must do a little bit of work to help the child understand that the knowledge that they study, that knowledge is the engine of the working world. For instance, in language, ladies and gentlemen, if you become, and a lot of our children say, but I want to become a pilot or an engineer one day. I'll give you the examples of a pilot and the engineer. If you're a pilot and you talk to the tower and you want to tell the tower that you're coming in downwind to land, and you want to take a shortcut crosswind to get an angle on the landing strip, and you haven't got the ability to express yourself verbally correct, you're dead. If you're an engineer and you need to write a report that must stand in a court of law, and your language is not proper, a lawyer will take you into pieces. So this is what we must explain to children, that the engine of the adult world is based on the content that they are being taught in school, in primary and in high school. And if the child cannot make that connection, they cannot see and understand the sense of studying. And this is what we as parents, this is a critical role that we as parents must play, is to help the child understand the connections, to connect the dots in the living world around us as adults, that is based on the knowledge that they are being taught in primary and high school and at university. Then, ladies and gentlemen, the third bullet point, still on the left of our slide, is we must try and expose our children to the world of work. And you must put pressure on the school that your kids are in to arrange for visits to places where people work, to a production line where cars are being manufactured, to the workshop of an engineer that builds aeroplanes, to the workshop of an engineer that builds electronic control systems. They must see the wires, they must see the control boards, they must see the computer screens, they must see the maths that these engineers battle with to get the things working. And then we must relate that back and say, can you see why you learn these things? Because one day you will work in one of these production engines where the knowledge that you now build will be valuable, and it'll put you in a position to do your work. So we must expose our children from the age of 10, 11, 12 to the world of work and the world of production. Then we must build a working lifestyle. Ladies and gentlemen, we have as parents a huge challenge, and please, I have a full understanding of the challenge that we have as parents. And I've been through this, ladies and gentlemen, and I go through this with many parents, even currently. And that is that we struggle to build a working lifestyle into the lives of our kids, especially kids in a middle income and higher income group of society. We build a lifestyle where things are easy. And I've made that mistake in a way, ladies and gentlemen. I had it for my kids too easy. We must build a family with a strong work ethic. It is such an important component in the formation of the mindset of children, ladies and gentlemen. There must be a strong work ethic in the minds of children. We work and we enjoy it. Work is not punishment. It's a wonderful privilege that we have, and we enjoy it. It's meaningful. It gives us fulfillment, and we must convey that message in what we do as well. We work and we make progress. The child must understand the importance of a successful career, and the only place where they can see this, ladies and gentlemen, is in the lives of adults, and the first adults in their lives are their parents. We work and we build a working community. This is a crisis in South Africa, ladies and gentlemen, because there are millions of people that live in communities where people don't work because there are no employment. And children are being brought up in a community where people don't work because there is no employment. And that grows a mindset of not working. And then, ladies and gentlemen, the last two bullets on this slide for the 10 to 15-year-olds: discipline, structure, and routine habits. We must, ladies and gentlemen, We must embed these habits in our children, and we do it by setting an example and by making them part of the activities around discipline, structure, and routine. Now, for some people, ladies and gentlemen, these sound like a military base approach. It's not. Discipline is when we say we leave at 7, we leave at 7. When we say we do the garden on a Saturday morning, we do the garden on a Saturday morning. When we say we're going to work on something as a family or as a couple, parents, then we commit ourselves and we work. What we must show and teach and embed into the lives of our children is that we are disciplined adults, we follow structure, and we follow routine patterns. If the routine of the household is in the week, during the week, we get up at 5 o'clock or 5:30 and we do some certain jobs and tasks in the household, then we stick to that. And with that, what we do, ladies and gentlemen, we embed into the neurons of the child the habits of structure, discipline, and routine. And these are critical for university one day and for the working environment post-university or post-high school. And then, ladies and gentlemen, one of the things that I'm very strict on, and I was with my children, is the principle of teach to earn. Work for what you want. We must be very careful not to easily give to our children. Yes, obviously, we want to be good parents. And if we have a little bit of money, ladies and gentlemen, it's very easy to give. And we normally say, but I want to be good for my child. I understand it. I've been through this. I know. The problem is that the younger child must grow into the understanding that I've got to earn a living. I have to produce, I have to deliver, I have to work, I have to participate, and I have to earn what I want. If things come too easily, especially in the age of 10 to 15 years, ladies and gentlemen, we experience that they struggle in their late teenage years, especially when it comes to university, and suddenly the workload is just 10 times the end of high school. It's just suddenly out of thin air, the workload is 10 times more than what it was in their final year in high school. So if that principle of hard work is not well embedded in the life of the child, then they come to the test of a career and a career choice and university, and they really struggle. Now we're going over, ladies and gentlemen, and we're going to have a look at the next part of our discussion, and that is the group in the years 16 to 20 years of age. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to start with a few things that we shouldn't do as parents, especially when it comes to the career choice decision. The first thing is, don't tell and don't decide for your child. Don't do it. Don't tell them, I think you should become a teacher. Don't do that. So if you are tempted to do it, put something in front of your mouth. Don't do it. Ask a question. The clever thing to do, ladies and gentlemen, is ask a question. Have you thought of becoming a teacher? Have you given engineering a thought? Have you ever seen what engineers do? Ask a question and ask it softly. It is not your career. It is not your life. The most mature thing that a parent must do is not to parent their children when it comes to deciding about a career. Don't do it. When you are not here anymore, that child could be suffering a disastrous career And who do they then blame? Oh, my parents said I must become an engineer. If I don't become an engineer, they're not going to pay my varsity fees. I sat with somebody in this year, ladies and gentlemen, final year engineering student, said to me, my parents said to me, I hate every moment of this degree. My parents said to me, if you don't become an engineer, we're not going to finance your varsity studies. Now, ladies and gentlemen, obviously you won't do it. But if you are ever in the mindset of maybe I should do it, don't. It's not a good idea. Don't talk down on careers. I want to tell you a story, ladies and gentlemen. When I was a young minister of religion, I played golf with somebody, a very lovely guy. I loved him. And he was an electrician. And he grew up, he was the second youngest child of a family. He had 4 brothers and a sister. They were 6 kids, a younger sister, and then the brothers older. His brothers were all highly qualified engineers, medical doctors, dentists, and I don't know whatever. They spent varsity years for many years. And he didn't want to. He became an electrician, hands down electrician. By the age of 45, his entire family worked for him, the dentist included. Don't look down on a career. If the child wants to become a plumber and he is passionate about the work of plumbing, leave him. Don't stand in his way, ladies and gentlemen. I've sat with families, I can tell you horrific stories where the parents were highly professional people, highly qualified professional people. Their eldest son, the same. The second son, the same. And then the third one came and said, no, no, I don't want to do any of this. So what do you want to do? I want to become a BMW mechanic. The parents lost it. I said to them, leave it. Leave it. Let him become a BMW mechanic. It's a great job. I want to tell you another story, ladies and gentlemen. It'll take you 1 minute. I had a friend when I was at varsity who studied engineering. When he finished his degree, on the day of the graduation, he gave the degree to his dad. And he said to his father, Dad, here is your degree. I did it for you. I don't want it. From now on, I will do what I want. He became a traffic officer on a motorbike in Pretoria in the streets. 3 times they wanted to promote him. And he said, so do you want to take me off the motorcycle and the work that I do in the traffic in Pretoria? They said, yes, we want to put you in an office as a manager. He said, I'm not interested. I'm not interested. He retired a year ago as the head of one of the biggest cities in the world in terms of traffic strategy and design of traffic flow. So, ladies and gentlemen, please don't talk down on a career. If the child is serious about a career, support. We want the best for our children. The best is that that child is successful. The highest propensity for success is that the child must do what he loves. And then people are successful when they enjoy the work they do, ladies and gentlemen. And if the child can find that spot, it is wonderful. It's the best thing that can happen with that child. Then, ladies and gentlemen, don't underestimate the abilities of a child. In my own life, I was given a brown document in grade 10, and the brown document I had to give to my parents. This is a true story. It's my story, ladies and gentlemen. You can check the facts. The brown document had a letter in, and in the letter, the headmaster of the school said, Dear Mr. de Villiers, we've tested your son, Pieter, and we found him to be intellectually not capable to complete high school. We recommend you take him to a practical school. Good. And my mother was devastated. My dad thought it was a joke. He said, Pieter, do you want to stay in high school? I said, yeah, I think so. He said, will you make it? I said, of course I'll make it. He said, well, they don't think you'll make it. I said, relax. I'll do whatever it takes to make it. So don't underestimate, ladies and gentlemen. I have dealt with children that are the most powerful intellectuals, and they couldn't get grade 11 finished. I have dealt with children who finished high school, just finished it. And I can tell you the most wonderful stories, ladies and gentlemen. A young man wanted to become a fighter pilot in the South African Air Force. And he applied for training as a pilot in the Air Force, and he failed the exams 4 times. The 4th time he failed it with 1%, and the brigadier called him in and he said, when will you understand that you are too stupid to become a pilot? Because those days there were no human rights and it was straight talk. So the brigadier said to him, so when will you understand the fact that you are too stupid to become a pilot? He said to him, Brigadier, if you allow me to become a pilot, I will be the best fighter pilot that you will ever have. And the brigadier said, I'm going to give you a chance. He became the best fighter pilot in the South African Air Force. So ladies and gentlemen, don't underestimate the ambitions of your child. Rather support them. Then careful for the sales pitch of open days, ladies and gentlemen, because open days at universities is a sales pitch. They sell degrees to the students and they sell career to students. Don't allow your child to be taken on a bandwagon by a sales pitch of an open day at a university. We must be realistic. We must take the realistic approach with our children and expose them to the realities of a career. And then, ladies and gentlemen, obviously we mustn't be unrealistic. We mustn't expect from our children to become something or somebody that is just not for them feasible to become, and to be frustrated in doing what they don't want to do. They don't want to be what we want them to be. We do not have to become doctors, all of us, ladies and gentlemen, or engineers or actuaries or helicopter pilots or whatever it is. We don't have to be it. We must be successful and we must be happy. And we must help our children to decide on that. It's not something that I mustn't become the tennis player that my daddy couldn't become. I had a dad, ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to go into that, but my dad had the dream that I will become the tennis player that he couldn't become. We mustn't do that. We must not do that to our children. Now, ladies and gentlemen, for the 16 to 20-year-olds, these are the to-dos. I have limited to 5 because we are running out of time. One thing, ladies and gentlemen, number 1 on your parent list as a responsible parent of a teenager is to introduce the teenager to people who are successful and who enjoy their work. Introduce them not to the job, to the person. Introduce them to the mechanical engineer, to the medical doctor, to the nurse in a hospital, to the pilot, to the farmer. Introduce them to somebody working in stock exchange and running numbers. Introduce them to the person, to the architect. Let them free to ask the questions they want to ask. And ask your circle of friends. You have friends, people that are in engineering, whatever it is. Introduce them to a psychologist. Let the psychologist tell them what they do. Criminology, police officers, military people. Ask a friend of a friend of a friend who's got a family member with a friend whose brother is a friend of somebody in the military. But try to organize for your child to meet people that are successful and they enjoy the work they do. Introduce your teenager to workplaces. This is so important, ladies and gentlemen. And if you can't find a physical workplace, try to watch videos. There are millions of videos around workplaces. I want to give you a tip. Search on the internet, a working day in the life of a helicopter pilot, or a working day in the life of a dentist, or a working day in the life of a social worker, or the working day in the life of a minister of religion. the system will present you with about 10 videos. Watch the videos with your child, or let the child watch the videos him or herself. But introduce the teenager to workplaces. They must see the working environment, because what we don't want, ladies and gentlemen, is the child to spend millions at varsity, come off varsity with a degree, get into the workplace, and then say, but this is not what I want to do. This is not where I want to be. This is not what I envisaged. And then they go to the next one, and the same thing happens. Then, ladies and gentlemen, watch a few Industry 4 videos with your child and discuss it. This is absolutely critical. Industry 4, ladies and gentlemen, in one sentence, it's a world where machines and computers will take over the world previously being done by people. What can be automated by machines? It's the wrong question. What cannot be automated? Teachers can be automated, ladies and gentlemen. We will automate teachers probably within the next 2 years. Lecturers at university will be automated. It's easy. You make a video of the best maths lecturer in the world, and you play the video to the students, and you have a few students, senior students, answering the questions from the juniors, and a few lecturers then answer questions from senior students online. It's a no-brainer. It's happening. They're doing it as we speak. Watch these videos, ladies and gentlemen. It helps the teenager to think in a very mature and an innovative way about their future and the future of their careers. Discuss open and closed career options. I want to explain this to you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we will send you the video, but you must make notes in your mind now. I want to explain a closed career. A closed career is, once I am qualified for this job, I'm dead. Dead meaning is it's the only job that I can do. I have studied for 5 years and 1 year internship to become a dentist. Now I'm a dentist. Can I now apply at Anglo American to be a mining manager? No. You're a dentist. And you're stuck now. It's a closed career. So if you want to follow a closed career, like a dentist, a physiotherapist, a speech therapist, a minister of religion, like in myself, ladies and gentlemen, I had to break myself out of that career. And there are many of these. Once you are qualified and you're a commercial pilot, that's it. You cannot have an open plan. Once you get your certificate as a commercial pilot, you cannot now say, but actually I want to work as a stock exchange trader. They're not going to employ you. You're a pilot. You are now stuck in that. And if you want to get out of it, it borders on impossibilities, ladies and gentlemen. What is an open career? An open career is when I get my degree, I have a lot of options. When I get my degree, I can decide. For instance, an industrial engineer. It's actually a degree in maths, in mathematics. Once you are qualified as an industrial engineer, ladies and gentlemen, you can work for the bank as a data analyst. You can run models for a production plant. You can run models in financial models and predict financial trends. Industrial engineer run these numbers with the COVID-19 viruses and the spreading of the viruses. It's an industrial engineer probably behind that. So in general science, microbiology, law, psychology in a way, these are open careers. If you qualify as a psychologist, ladies and gentlemen, there's a lot of things that you can do. You can work in a specialized field with children, with depression, with anxiety, with teenagers. You can work in counseling. You can do research work as a research psychology. You can do career counseling. There's a lot of opportunities, and there's an open field. So there's an openness to your qualification. Now, if the teenager is not certain, he or she must be very careful, ladies and gentlemen, not to commit to a closed career. Closed careers are for young people who are dead sure, this is what I want to be. They must actually be at a point where they say, I don't even think about any other possibilities. I want to become a physiotherapist. That's it. They have no ambition for anything else. Then they do it. But if they are indecisive, ladies and gentlemen, and they commit themselves to a closed career, it's a challenge once they are finished, and this is not really what they want, because then it will become what they want, whether they want it or not. Then, ladies and gentlemen, we must start at the age of 16 with a career mapping process. A career choice and deciding on a career for a young person, ladies and gentlemen, is not an event. It's a project. This idea that sometime in grade 11, I will send my child to be tested somewhere, and then the counselor will tell my child what to become. Don't do it. Please don't do it. I beg you, please don't do it. This is not how it works, ladies and gentlemen. It's unfair to the counselor. It's unfair to the counselor. They can't do it. Ask me. I know it. They cannot. It's unfair. You cannot do it. It's a process, ladies and gentlemen. It's a process that can take years. It can take 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 years. It's a project. And you are part of the project team. And your child is the project manager. And that process starts somewhere 16, 17 years old. Then it becomes a project. And we keep it open, a project with an open end. So we must work from the age of 16 onwards. And the project, the outcome of the project in terms of what career the teenager will follow will continuously move, ladies and gentlemen. It's not a stagnant project. But at a point, at the end of high school, we must be at a point of a decision. So it's quite important that we start with this as a process and not as an event. When we make it an event, it's a one-day exercise. It's unfair towards the child and it's unfair towards the counselor. We can't do it. Now, ladies and gentlemen, with that in mind, I want to, and I'm going to spend another 5 minutes because I was asked to include something into this webinar, and I think we have time. We are 6 minutes early. I want you to remember these 4 dates. I'm running 4 free webinars for people who would like to redesign or decide on their future careers. I've built a system, ladies and gentlemen, called Shadowmatch. The system is shadowmatch.com. Or you can also find access to the Shadowmatch engine via www.careermatchforme.com. If you are frustrated with anything, send an email to coaching@shadowmatch.com and I will see to it. We will send you the information, but on these 4 dates, I will run 4 webinars for people who would like to either redesign their careers, ladies and gentlemen, because suddenly we experience that people in their early 50s and early 60s need to rethink their careers and their future. So, on the age of 30, 32, people come to me and they say, Peter, I cannot do this job anymore. I am mad. And then we say, well, then we've got to rethink. And I can share stories with you, ladies and gentlemen, that is on the one side so thrilling to hear, but on the other side, in a way, sad as well, of people that they've been unhappy for 10 years in a very successful and a high-flying job, but they hated it and they had to redesign their career. So I'm running these 4 webinars. On July 27 at 7 p.m. South African Standard Time for our international participants on the career report that's being generated by Shadowmatch. It's an Industry 4 enabled career report. So we go through that career report so that everybody understands all the implications of the career as best as I can explain it, and I'll do my best. And then on 28, a career summary that I will help the participants to prepare a proper roadmap, summary map of their career recommendations. And then on July 29, We have a capability in the system to match our habits to specific careers. That'll take us 30 minutes. I'm actually just going to show how it works so that they can play with it a bit on all by themselves. And then on July 32, we will spend 1 hour to design a career plan for 3 to 5 years going forward into our own future. And I will help with that process. I will facilitate the process with all the delegates. These webinars, all 4 of them are free, ladies and gentlemen. You can book your seat on this and you will get an email to this effect within the next, let's say, day or 2. So if you would like your teenagers child to attend this, or you know about somebody who would like to attend it, you'll get the links. All the communication will happen when we are done with this webinar tomorrow or Monday onwards. What you need to do, ladies and gentlemen, you need to do your Shadowmatch worksheet. So you need to answer, or your child, your teenage child, all by himself, obviously no help from parents, because then we get a skew picture. Need to answer about 70 questions. We map the habits of the individual. We use those habits as the platform to determine what careers will best fit their habits. The career report is very comprehensive, ladies and gentlemen. And then obviously what you do is you buy your career report, you pay online for it. And on these 4 dates, you can then attend the webinar for free. If you ask what is the cost of the webinar, of the career report, you can post to Lizette. Please tell me what the cost of the career report is. It depends on the country where you are in, ladies and gentlemen. We follow the McDonald's exchange rate. So the career report is not equally priced in countries for obvious reasons. So that is we will send you these dates again, ladies and gentlemen, but book your seat. It's a working project in terms of helping people to design their careers. We've got 1 minute left, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. But I just want to share something with you. If you have a teenager that is struggling with certain subjects, I've been asked by parents to deal with this on a practical level. If you have teenagers struggling with certain subject, maths, science, languages, economy or bookkeeping or what it is, just a few comments in 1 minute. First, we have what we call mind blocks. There's a mind block in the teenagers' understanding of the world that says, in our family can't do maths. It's rubbish. It's rubbish. Our family are bad with languages. It's rubbish. It's something that has been planted in their brains. They started to believe it, and then it becomes a reality. There are failure and fear thereof. Children, teenagers are very high on their fear of failure, ladies and gentlemen, and they fear the failure of these tough subjects. And then the big thing, ladies and gentlemen, the teaching methods of the teachers might be the challenge. I have discovered that most of these problems stem from an inability of the teenager to follow proper study methods. Now, with that, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to leave it with you. Don't just think that my child can't do this. It's most probably related to them using the wrong study method that is not in line with their habits, and then there's a resistance against the material that they have to study. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm done. I'm willing to listen to the questions, and Lizette, our host and facilitator, will help me with the questions. Lizette, over to you.
Thank you very much, Peter. Very positive feedback at this point in the chat. No specific question. There's just one question that said, what would be the age of a child joining for these 4 sessions? Can a child as young as 15 get their career report and join for the 4 planning sessions? Or would you say that that's too young?
Not younger than 14.
Okay.
Not younger than 14, 15 is fine. We experienced that the results on the Shadowmatch worksheet from the age of 14 is very, very stable. On 15, it's extremely stable. And at the age of 16, it is as stable as the results of an adult. So 14, 15, not younger than 14. It's not fair towards the child. It's a bit of an overstretch for them. But from 14, 15 onwards, 16 easy.
Great. Thanks, Peter. Ladies and gentlemen, you will be able to unmute yourselves now. I have changed the setting. Maybe just from my side, Peter, I would still emphasize that even if somebody's going to join for the 4 sessions at the end of the month, it will be a very good idea for a teenage child or a young student still feeling uncertain to join the webinars next week. It will form quite a good foundation for them to maybe, you know, get their thoughts running, then get the career report, and then join the 4 sessions. I don't think that it might not be a good idea to skip next week and then just join for the 4 at the end of the month.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, and all parents, during the 2 sessions next week, I will go through some of the content that we've done this evening, but because I'm not their parent, they will take it from in a different frame when I say it to them. I have seen that the voice is just as important as the message. When parents, I discovered a stupid thing, ladies and gentlemen. I played golf at a very low handicap, scratch +1, +2 handicap for many years at varsity and post-university. And when one of my children was about 12, she said to me, but can you actually play golf? They never realized that I was a serious golfer. But children do not know their parents. They do not know who their parents are. They don't know the capabilities and the knowledge frames of their parents. So it's sometimes just a good thing to have a different voice saying the same thing as what the parents say. And I will probably say 90% of the things that you want to say to your children. But it's just a different voice and a different face, and it makes a difference. Thanks, Lizzie.
Thank you very much, Peter. Ladies and gentlemen, we are finished with the formal part of the webinar, so you are welcome to drop off. Don't feel obliged to stay. If you do have a question, you're welcome to unmute yourselves and just ask. You're also welcome to, in the chat, maybe just post the question. Peter, I'm just going to read the questions that came up. Excellent. What are the youngest age for a child to complete the Shadowmatch report? I think Peter answered that, not younger than 14. So 14 is the youngest age. Thank you for that question. I don't know if there's any other people that you're welcome to just unmute yourself and then just ask. We'll give a few minutes. Thanks, Peter. I don't see any hands.
No, I think it's 8 o'clock and it's time to switch off and have coffee.
Just a few thank you very muches from our side. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. You will get the recording as well as all the webinar links tomorrow morning. Thank you very much for joining. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Lizette. Bye-bye.
Het interessant vond.